But the thing that I wanted to talk about in our top tips this week, Eddie, is DNF. Because we've covered 2 races in the first 3 episodes. The North Downs Way 100 3 weeks ago, and the Hardmoors race last weekend. And there was a high percentage of DNFs, probably more than normal. Now, they could be for a variety of reasons. The whole virus situation, people not being able to train. Both days were quite hot and varied. Maybe the timing of the event. These events should have been in May or April, and now we're in August. So a number of things. But it's maybe sort of think about this whole DNF thing and about, in a sense, when is the right time to DNF? And there was this weekend I followed 5 runners, and you'll hear those in the interviews in this podcast and YouTube. And 3 of them didn't make it, had to DNF for different reasons. And hopefully, as people listen to this episode and watch it, they'll see some of the reasons why and what happened to those runners. But one of them, Kim Cavill, she had very much a philosophy, is that a mindset that nothing's going to stop her unless injury. And that's what happened for her, and also the others as well. They had stomach issues and being timed out and various things. So that sort of came on. And I think for me, I've had 1 DNF in the West Highland Way a few years ago, and it was because I went in with an injury and I really probably shouldn't have started. But that was for me, that's always been my philosophy. I'm just going to keep going until someone tells me I can't or I'm injured. But I must admit, I've seen a number of races. I've been in races where I think people have dropped out, not through injury, but just because mentally they just weren't at it or whatever reason, and they decided to stop. But I think it's quite an interesting topic, isn't it, in ultra running? And a good friend of mine, Andy Cole, is a very experienced runner. He said to me once that if you've not got a DNF against your name, it's because you've never challenged yourself into a race. And I quite like that idea. He said if you never want to have a DNF, just do races that you know you can finish. So I was interested in what your thoughts were, Eddie. Have you had a DNF? What's been your experience, both as a runner and as a coach?
Well, as a runner and a coach, I guess, I've learned a lot from both my DNFs and from clients' DNFs. And I'll just give you, I don't struggle with the mental side of running a long way and the fortitude needed. I struggle a lot more with the fact that the 2 major DNFs I've had have been from massive injuries because I've pushed myself to breaking, and one ended up with a broken foot, a stress fracture on the South Downs Way, and the other one I ended up a week in hospital unable to walk because I damaged my back so badly. And I don't think that's anything to be proud of. And in fact, I'm ashamed slightly that I pushed myself to the point that I needed medical support and assistance. And I wish that I'd listened to myself earlier on in the race and stopped earlier to not get in that position. But I did. And I think as long as you learn from that, so in my history, nearly always I've had these injuries from a biomechanical weakness, from having 3 kids really close together and then believing that I was invincible and I could get back into running and do all these things again without the need to do any other forms of training or strength training. And so I've gone into these races and fallen apart slightly when the going has got tough. And so I've really had a look back then after those DNFs and totally revamped the way that I train. We talked a bit earlier about how I train much more organically now, and I really listen to my body. And if I'm tired, I don't push it. If I'm feeling a bit of a weakness, I really concentrate. Probably 25% of my training is now strength and conditioning, and I need that as not only I get older, but also postnatally having had the kids. And that's what those DNFs taught me, that I'm not invincible. I need to listen to my body. So though it's that race and I didn't finish that race, it's changed me into a better runner. So though I was obviously deeply upset at the time, I went back, I looked at what went wrong, I looked at my training, I looked how I handled myself during the race, and I definitely believe that I'm 100% better runner and a better overall athlete from that happening to me. And so, but it's not just an injury, I think, with a DNF. If mentally, we see it all the time, especially in 100s, people get to halfway or 70 miles and they stop. And nearly always they have a reason to start off with, oh, my ankle or my stomach went. And then as they sort of think about it, they go, I think I could have continued, but I just didn't have it in my head and I didn't have the strength. And I think it takes a brave person to be able to admit to that. But I think as well, then, the most important thing that they can do is work out where they need to build that strength. Do they need to look at their training plan and go, I didn't suffer enough in training? And I think a lot of the DNFs we've seen now as races have come back is that people have forgotten, just like childbirth, you forget it, how painful it is and how much pain you can endure, and how when that fatigue starts in an ultra, it's you remember, you go, oh no, yeah, I remember how bad my legs feel, but it just carries on. It doesn't get any worse. But I think we've all sort of not been able to put ourselves into that pain cave during lockdown, and so I think it's shocked quite a lot of people when they got back to races that they're like, oh yeah, I'm not quite ready for that, because it does take mental preparation as well as physical preparation. So my big thing about DNS is that it happens to everybody. Like your mate said, it makes us a better runner. We've done a challenge. The bravest thing is putting yourself on the start line, and it didn't work out. But hey, the sun will rise the next day, and let's just learn from what happened and try and make ourselves a better athlete for the next time.
Yeah.
When have you DNF'd, John?
Well, it's interesting that I was just thinking about a story in 2008. Ian Beattie, I hope you won't mind saying this, it was the race director for the West Highland Way. He DNF'd at Roedennen after 20 miles of a 95-mile race. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he regretted it big time. He had some stomach issues, and he just heart wasn't in it, and he stopped. And he said to me, for the next year, it played on his mind, because he knew that he shouldn't have stopped. And then a year later, I did the Hardmoors 110 for the first time, and I got to 100 miles at Scarborough. I got lost. It was the second time they'd done the race. There was only 19 in it. It wasn't marked at all. We had to get out anyway. I was about to DNF. And Ian rang me because he knew I was following my progress. And he basically said to me, John, are you injured? And I said, no, but I'm tired and I'm lost. And he said, John, go. He said, he said, keep on going. And it was the year I was 50 and I wanted to do 5 ultras. And it was all on my blog, and I talked a lot about this. And I said, oh, Ian, but I'm tired, And then so I put the phone down and I thought, oh, maybe I can keep going. And then 10 minutes later, he rang me again. And he said, are you moving yet? And I said, I'm just about to. And he said to me later, he was going to ring me every 10 minutes until he knew I was moving. It was about friendship as well, Eddie, because he said that he didn't want me to go through the same process that he'd had the year before. And he said, unless you're injured, then you've got plenty of time, you might have to walk it. And I did. It took me ages, but I made it. And I'm so grateful for that, because I think if I had a DNF'd at that point, then I would have regretted it for the next year as well, and had to go back and do it again.
Exactly.
Having
to go back. I think a lot of people, when you get that initial, it's nearly always at a checkpoint, and you're like, I can't do it. I can't, that initial, and I think people almost need to have that checklist. Like Ian was there, like, I need to eat, I need to drink, I need to slow down, and I just need to keep moving forward. And I think people think if things go wrong, it's all over. And so much of ultra running is just troubleshooting and problem solving and working through the rough patches. It's easy to run when we feel great and everything's going fantastically, and we're eating and we're drinking and, we're live Instagramming. It's all brilliant. It's when it all goes wrong, that's when it really counts. And that's the part of our sport that though it's the hardest, it's the bit we love, is working through those rough patches. Yeah. And just like Ian said to you, just eat, drink, slow down and take your time and just keep moving forward. I know that was Dan Lawson's mantra when he did the Le Jog. Relentless forward motion, one foot in front of the other. and you're going to get there.
I think the other thing as well, Eddie, I found from that experience, when I've been in a similar situation in future races, I've drawn on that so many times, because I thought I'd reached my limit. I thought I'd got to the point where I couldn't go any more, and yet somehow I did another 10 miles and finished that race, and I'm not saying I got stronger, but I finished it. And I've been in situations in races after that where I've felt, I'm near the end. But I look back on that time and think, well, you've not. You can walk. You can still keep going. And I've had some really close times but I've never doubted myself since then. I've always thought, I did it then, and I can keep going. Now that's some of our thoughts. So we thought for this week we would have. I don't want to call it a competition as much, because it's not a competition in a sense, but we're looking for the best contribution to thoughts about DNF. So what sort of things are we looking for, Eddie?
Well, what I really love to hear is people's experiences. It might be that they DNF'd, what happened and what did they learn from that, or they might have nearly DNF'd and they didn't, and how did they turn that experience around. So basically anything that you think others might learn from, but also that you've learned from and it's made you a better runner, either as a DNF or during a race when you've had a really low point and you very nearly pulled out and gone to the local pub. So we're just looking for people's experiences and things that other people can read about, just like you said, John, when Ian was like, you will regret it. I don't want you ever to be in that position. So things that other people can draw on as well, especially now as races get back going and we're all experiencing different perhaps emotions and feelings when we're racing. So sharing the good times and the bad times.
Excellent. Okay, and if you want to take part in that, probably the best way, I think, is to join our Facebook page, because you can put it on there and other people can comment as well. And we've got a prize. We're sponsored by Cheer Charge, and they've offered 10 protein bars this week, and these are really good. They're excellent for runs. So if you want to be in the chance to win those, then share your contribution. You put it on Instagram as well, but Facebook seems to be where most people put on for last week. So feel free to do that.